What's going on, gents? Just made some coffee, starting the day. It's nice and early here, 11:23 a.m. Let me get the coffee. Bear with me a second. I usually like pouring it into a small cup after pouring it into a big one. This is like a little funnel system I have. Something about drinking out of a smaller cup makes it more enjoyable. But, yeah. What's going on, fellas? I wanted to talk about a couple different things today. I just woke up this morning blazing with inspiration for the brand. The Man of Zero by David Deida. So this was his last book. It came out on May 15th, I believe. May 15th, 2026, which is ironically the last day, or it was the day I decided to leave the U.S., and it was indeed the day I moved out of my apartment. I knew that book was coming out for a long time. Crazy story, actually. I don't know if like my subconscious collaborated with my conscious on this one, but basically I knew that book was coming out on May 15th. And I've been wanting to leave the US for months, and I kept telling myself, wait until the book comes out. But the funny thing is, I forgot about it. And there was so much other stuff going on, and I was going to eventually, I was planning on actually staying in the US for several more months at the very least. And then like somewhat there's just a lot of stuff that happened, and then I didn't realize that I was basically moving out on that day. Like it hit me that day that the book came out, but I already made my decision. So it was just like, it's funny how that works. Let me take my first sip here. You guys having some coffee? Comment in the comments what kind of coffee you having. I'm kind of a coffee snob, so I always get like expensive coffee. I rarely ever do instant coffee unless it's like some kind of emergency or. Oh, fuck, that's good. This is Lavazza. I love their brand, Italian brand. Such a good name too, Lavazza. It's like lava, and then it just has an Italian twang to it. But anyway, this is one of those books that was well timed and like correlated well with, I think, what a lot of men are feeling these days, especially in the West. It's funny because if you look at his original book, The Way of the Superior Man, it came out in, or one of his most famous books. It's not necessarily his original, I believe, but that one came out in 99, was it? And that was right when the Soviet Union collapsed, like a couple years later. But I think it was a period of high optimism, like overall. You know, it was, there was just a lot going on, especially in the U.S., where, again, the mood was optimistic. The Soviet Union collapses in like 91. It seems like the U.S. won the Cold War. Western civilization prevails. You know, it was a time when there was still a decent amount of stability, at least perceptually, I think. Technology still wasn't like so crazy and invasive. And then, you know, there's certain things that weren't great, you know, but I think that book reflected the mood or the zeitgeist of that moment or of that time period the way the Superior Man did. And then fast forward like 25 years, and now it's the Man of Zero. And I don't know if you guys can already glean from what that might be about from the name of the title. But essentially it's about a man who lost motivation. It's about a man who lost hope in a lot of ways. It's about a man who lost his comforting narratives. And it's kind of funny because the way of the superior man was the opposite. It was about like taking control of your life, and you're gonna make it, and you're gonna fucking do these things. You're gonna follow these practices, whether it's meditation, or you're gonna follow your purpose, or you're gonna do these like sensual techniques and stuff like that, and you're gonna master women, and you're gonna master life, and you're gonna have all this energy. And then what does the man of zero again say? It's a man of zero. It's a man of zero motivation, of zero hope, of zero desire even. Like he just kind of lost his desire to even fucking do anything. There's a nihilistic component, almost anyway. I'm not literally trying to tell you what his intention was. These are just my comments. And I'll read you a snippet of the beginning of the book. Actually, it was an incredible little introduction. I might even read the whole thing. It's really short. It's written by Jamie Wheel, author of Stealing Fire and Recapture the Rapture. So he says, back in 97, David Deida sent a shockwave through the consciousness scene. The Way of the Superior Man, a spiritual guide to mastering the challenges of women, work, and sexual desire. With its bald declarations of love and purpose, it rocked the spiritual marketplace. The vibe hit a nerve. Word of mouth kept word of mouthing. Pretty soon you couldn't throw a talking stick without overhearing someone talk about penetrating masculine or feminine surrender. Millions of copies later came the inevitable knockoffs. Man bun bros began making offerings of polarity workshops and ocean cold plunges. Hashtag goddess score priestesses started hosting wild women within weekends. It all regressed to the gram, morphing into dilute variations of that unnameable thing. Bear with me, it's another minute. Copies of counterfeits. A lot got lost in the translation. So this time round, Daida's not going to try to recenter the discourse of the past 30 years. Those mutating memes escaped into the wild long ago. Mutating memes, isn't that from Richard Dawkins? In The Man of Zero, he's starting from a different location altogether. From the center of the cyclone where all is impossibly still, and there is no more seeking or striving of any kind to be done. So why does this message matter so much right now? This is the key portion. We are in the middle of late stage everything. It's all coming undone. You may have noticed. I'm going to come back to that. And our guiding stories from the myth of progress, this is beautiful, to the American dream are lying in shreds around us. Doesn't that parallel what Nietzsche said about God is dead and he's lying in broken pieces all around us? That's one of the, I think, famous passages from his book, from one of his books. Robbed of those scripts to follow and ladders to climb, many of us have collapsed altogether. Depression, anxiety, doom scrolling, existential dread. Does this sound like the optimistic vibe of The Way of the Superior Man? What's the point of anything if we've lost the plot to all the things? But Deida suggests there's an opportunity here if we can take it. Rather than doubling down on stoicism, biohacks, or affirmations to try to conquer the crazy or get back your groove, let it go. Let it all go. And have the courage and presence to see what remains on the other side. In an era of hustling, grinding, and hashtag maxing, it turns out that relaxing can be a revolutionary act. Relaxing into the primal power that precedes effort, the boundless sex that transcends bodies, and the freedom beyond ambition that liberates us for good. Make no mistake, staying centered in the eye of the storm is easier said than done. Daida's teaching comes at a cost not less than everything. But the nothing this man of zero points us to, turns out it's really something after all. What an incredible introduction or forward by Jamie Wheel. I found it to be one of the most enjoyable aspects of the book, honestly, because the rest of the book has more of a spiritual kind of passages, like it's almost like a poetic, spiritual, a little bit flat in some ways, style. But the forward really, I think, hit the analytical side of the equation quite well, and it was just a great forward. I wish sometimes I wish Deida incorporated a little bit more analysis, especially into this book. It was to me it was a little bit too. I think he's trying to give you like short passages that you can kind of just open the book to randomly and then just like download this wisdom. But it's I kind of want to see what the fuck he thinks like overall. I wish he could just go on like a rant in the book a bit, like just give me your thoughts on everything, just. But instead, he really tried to condense it to these like little poems of hoping to kind of snap you into a spiritual state, I guess, or something like that. I don't know. So I thought some of it was good. Some of it didn't really speak to me. I enjoyed the writing style, the way this period man a lot more. But I still think it's an interesting addition to any man's private library, especially if he's into these topics of like polarity, this kind of mix of the consciousness movement in the U.S., polarity stuff from the East, and then kind of a different take from like maybe organized religion, for example. And that's one of my critiques of Christianity in some ways. Even though I'm not saying that I don't support it or whatever. I'm just saying like it doesn't have a lot of it doesn't have a whole lot to say about the sexual domain. It does have a lot to say about marriage life, especially if you look at what was it, Saint Basil the Great had a lot to say about marriage. There's some good works about that, but it's weird because there's quite a bit of, especially in the Orthodox tradition, there's quite a few saints that wrote about how you should behave in a marriage, but these are people that like were never married or had very little experience with relationships. So whatever. I mean, sometimes that could be an interesting thing too, but just saying, Christianity doesn't always have the same maybe level of nuance that other traditions might have when it comes to relationships, and that's why I think David Deida's work was so powerful, especially in the Protestant U.S. Where there's like a lot of literalism and stuff around the Bible, and again, not a whole lot of nuanced takes around relationships. But that I just wanted to introduce that because I'm going to be talking about this. There's a lot of things I want to say. There's a lot of things I want to say like moving forward in general with the brand. There's this two statements that keep popping up in my head. Sorry, I still kind of just woke up. I'm still on my first fucking cup of coffee here. There's two statements I really like. Beyond pickup, beyond nofap. I guess you could say that's sort of the mature distillation of some of these early ideas that were circulating in the men's health, men's self-help, men's development scene. Obviously, a lot of it had to do with sexual mastery and stuff like that. But what do you do once you transcend the first few levels of those? What dimension do you kind of come into? Because when you first get into pickup, when you first get into nofap, a lot of it is crass. A lot of it is quite immature. A lot of it is can actually lead you down a lot of really bad, not really bad, but just it could kind of waste your time. It can kind of, yeah, it could definitely lead you towards some unhealthy behaviors. Even nofap could backfire. I mean, how many guys here, I'd love to hear, did you guys ever have an experience where you tried getting into nofap and it backfired? You started doing it more often? Or what about guys that got into pickup and then maybe got jaded along the way, right? You go out, you meet a bunch of girls. Things don't always go so great. Sometimes you end up worse than when you started. Because when you first start out, you have all this energy, inspiration. You're going to go out, you're going to master this stuff. And then you come out the other side and it's like you lose all your fucking motivation. You lose your enthusiasm because you're like, damn, I had all these bad experiences. You kind of get a little traumatized by it all, For any guy that really went out and did pickup, I challenge you not to get traumatized. Like, I bet you got a little fucking traumatized. So yeah, that's something I want to talk about moving forward, is like, how do you approach these things with wisdom, skill? How do you avoid overdoing it? How do you know when enough is enough and when you should probably take a break? How do you master things like nofap, porn addiction, etc., without letting it become an obsession? Like, is it even possible, or is it even worth it to try to really master those things? Like, should you really try to be on nofap? There's an argument that you shouldn't. That it's better to just kind of minimize it, but it's not ideal to necessarily cut it out completely. There are guys that have done it. There's several YouTubers that are like nofap masters, you could say. And they have claims to like really long periods of like nofap abstinence. But for every guy like that, and I've known a few of them, there's really not a whole lot. It's like the 0.0001%. And I'll tell you this, from my experience talking to some of these people, those that are truly like on nofap, like they don't have any slip ups, usually they live a very simple life where there's not a lot of temptation. Like, what I'm saying is, a lot of these guys don't really go out. They don't really go out and like try to pick up chicks. They don't really have much of a sex life. They don't even let their mind go into sexuality. These are people that are very concentrated on like a simple lifestyle. They might have they often have a lot of things like handled, and they just sort of live a even keel lifestyle. And it's like, when you're a young guy and you're going through stress and you're trying to do all these different things, I don't know how realistic nofap really is. If you're trying to still go out, meet women, have a dating, sex life, etc. I think nofap would actually be more, it would make more sense if you were like 40 years old, for example. You already made it and you want to take like a year off sex and women and stuff, and you want to maybe live in like a small village and just work on like art maybe, and you're just committed to just not dating or something, like, you know what I mean? You really need to set your life up for that, and it's not something you could do, I think, in most cases, if you're like, again, a young guy trying to make it, trying to learn stuff with women, trying to go out, trying to have a social life, trying to build stuff. Like, you're going through all these ups and downs. Not sure how realistic it is, but anyway, especially if you're single. Like, if you're in a relationship, it's arguably a lot easier too, because now you have at least an outlet for your sexuality, and you can abstain when you're on your own, and like your girlfriend can provide the soothing touch that you need to deal with the stress, and then you won't necessarily gravitate towards masturbation and stuff like that. So there's that. And I also wanted to introduce some of the topics as well that I'll be talking about here. It's going to be a lot of stuff, man. I don't know how this brand is going to contain it all, but it's going to have to, because yeah, I could make this video so long. I don't even know if I should. Well, okay, so I'll introduce this idea too. I want to do an event not too long from now. I wish I could do it somewhere within the next 3 months. And it could be anywhere. I mean, it could be in the US. It could be in Italy. It could be in France. It could be in Romania. It's going to be somewhere on that side of things, I think. It could be in Eastern Europe, maybe in Georgia or Istanbul or something. Like, I don't know yet. But I want to do an event with, I don't know, 10 or 20 guys. And I want to see what you guys think. So this is towards the end of the video. We'll see how many guys even watched this far. But that's how low sort of my expectation is as of now for anything happening in the next 3 months. That's why I included it just at the end here. But if you guys are interested, let me know what you think about this. Some kind of event, 3 or 4 days, you guys fly over. I'll price it at, I don't know, maybe a couple hundred USD per ticket, with a sliding scale if you have like low income or whatever. And then we meet up and we basically spend maybe 4 days together. And we do several different things. Of course, I'll be sharing distilled knowledge that I've accumulated, having had a very sort of international and chaotic lifestyle in my 20s. One thing I like, it's going to be like practical stuff for men. And really the theme is obviously navigating Dionysus. So what does that mean? It means, how do you be a man in this complex fucking world? And I think the unique angle I want to come at it from is, how do you kind of embrace where we're at? Instead of trying to bring back the past, instead of trying to, sorry, I'm like hearing some noise. I hope I don't get interrupted right now. Instead of trying to kind of have this reactionary movement where we LARP and we pretend, I don't know, we're back in the fucking 50s, or we're going to be religious guys and we're just going to do stuff a certain way all the time. Like, I want to explore, how do you live life embracing the complexity, embracing VUCA, VUCA, variability, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. What does it mean to be a man in the face of all those things? You know, what does it mean, like Man of Zero, if you've lost your hope in like the narratives, like, you know, the American dream, the fucking the myth of progress, or like the idea that Western civilization is going to keep going up. That's kind of the myth of progress, but that Western civilization and the world is just going to keep, you know, going towards this peak, or that your society is somehow going to get better. And, you know, with all the technology and everything else now, and, you know, how that's going to destabilize certain fields, but also add to other fields. And how do you be a man despite it all? How do you be a man when, like, institutions like marriage and things like that are slowly unraveling, right? How do you be a man when religion is kind of shaky now? Like, people don't take it as serious anymore, especially on a civilizational scale. You know, is it possible to live as a man beautifully and aesthetically despite all these things? Like, how does that look like? What about friendships? Like, what do friendships even mean anymore? You know, I lived in cities where like Miami, for example, that are very transitory. Is that the right word for it? It's like people are in and out, man. I was going to churches there sometimes, you know, and I had some experiences where every few weeks there's like a bunch of new people, and like some people are gone, and it's like, it's weird. How do you build a church, for example, right? In a transitory society where people are like coming from so many different backgrounds and even different religions and different spiritual takes. And almost everyone is absorbing other ideas too, right? Like most people that go to church are going to have a bunch of books from non-approved sources. So like this is what I mean by complexity. Like look at the amount of just sort of destabilized structures compared to our our ancestors. And again, how does that reflect on male friendships? What do male friendships mean? Are people really going to get your back the same way they would have if you grew up with them in the 1930s in your small town or something? So what are male friendships like? What are they based on now? What does honor even mean anymore? Like, what does getting your back mean? How do you even base a friendship on something if you have such varying values and maybe you have an alternative life where you're traveling and you're going some other place for work half the year, and like, how do you set up a code of honor or like a code of behavior within that friendship or anything? Like, so these are all the topics. Some guys don't like, yeah, again, marriage. How do you get married in a world like this? Where especially, you have all this stuff like looks maxing and all this kind of nihilistic stuff going on when it comes to relationships and dating. What do you do? Do you even get married? Do you kind of have this like alternative relationship then where you kind of you don't really get married, but you're in a long-term relationship somehow, and maybe you have a kid, but you're not really monogamous or something? Like, or do you just stick to the regular script? Do you get married, you just find a church and fucking stick to it? I know people like this. They have this capacity to just stick to something. Is that capacity worth cultivating? Is it even possible for some people to cultivate that? Or are some people too far gone in other directions and that they should focus on other frameworks of navigation? So this is the kind of stuff I want to talk about. And I think I have a unique voice and experience in this sort of I have a unique voice and experience around these topics. And I've met a lot of the guys that kind of led some of these thought processes. The early pickup guys, a lot of authors around this kind of stuff. I've met a lot of them, spoke to them. I've been to a lot of different events for the past 10 years. I mean, now I think I'm actually kind of qualified. That was my original fucking insecurity when I first started out Spartan ownership. I had some imposter syndrome for sure. And a little bit till this day, admittedly. I'm not, I'm not an authority. I want to talk about these topics without the bullshit marketing lens of authority. And maybe I'll market some shit in the future as an authority, but just to kind of, break through the noise and actually get views or something. I might do that. But deep down, I hope people would understand that that's not where I'm coming from. Like when if we were to do this summit or this event, I want it to have a much more exploratory and conversational tone rather than a fucking dude standing on a pillar telling you what to do tone, looking down on you. It would be interesting to, So, and what else could we do? We could go fucking hiking. We could we could just show each other tricks, various tricks, whether it's how to cook a quick meal if you're a single guy, whether it's how to work out, whether it's how to pick up girls, whether it's how to, what I'd love too is guys that are in relationships to share your success stories and secrets on how do you maintain that. And some guys might say, hey, like some guys might have a religious angle, some guys might have a spiritual angle, but I really want to explore too is the sensual side, like how to maintain deep levels of passion and intimacy in the long term. That's something I really want to go into. That's also a unique angle. So that's big. And then, yeah, other stuff too. It could be all kinds of workshops, maybe one on like sensual massage, like how do you give a woman a sensual massage. I think that's a really cool course that you could do in a setting like this. I've done that before. It could be, a talk on decision making under complexity. It could be an introduction to Taleb's work, maybe. It could be an introduction to any kind of thinker that answers these questions or like has a take on these questions. Ultimately about navigating an uncertain world, a world of complexity, a world of chaos and like crushed narratives, and taking on a strong posture. Ultimately, it's about navigating the whole fucking thing with sprezzatura. That's what it's about to me. It's about navigating the whole thing with grace, with beauty, with elegance, with class, with honor, with masculinity, with it's about having an anchor in the face of all this stuff. To some extent, for sure, it's about having an anchor in the face of all this stuff. That's why there is a loose structure to what I'm talking about, right? There is kind of ultimately a container to all this stuff, I think. And I'm not preaching for some like universal thing. It's for me and a few guys that like this stuff. And we're going to build our own aesthetic around it all. Our own gentlemanly aesthetic around navigating complexity and taking on this posture, and doing it with class and grace, and this is, oof, man, I don't even know if I could really explain it in one shot like this, but I think it'll reveal itself over time, and again, and another topic could be, how do you make money when there's so much chaos, when there's fucking entire fields that are being manifested, within a few weeks, or like AI comes in with a total new technology that you can then integrate into some other technology. Like, how do you move fast in a world like this? Like these are all subjects. Do you invest in real estate anymore? Is it even fucking worth it? Like all this kind of stuff I want to talk about. So if you guys are interested in the event, comment below or email me, private@navigatingdionysus.com. We could do it in the US, it could be in Europe, it could be in the Caucasus, which is where I'm based at the moment. Yeah, we could pull something off like that. I think it's going to be a great way for guys to connect as well and make new friends based on those interests. And then trust me, this is one of those fields of interest that if you can find a friend who shares that set of interests, you'll have a friend for life, because this is an inexhaustible field of thought. I've had friendships in the past that suffered from depletion because we initially started out with some stuff and then it eventually just kind of fizzled out because there just wasn't enough common interest. And I think navigating Dionysus attracts a certain kind of guy, and at the higher levels it might be someone who has so many different interests and really takes on kind of this broad, just kind of a Renaissance-ish. You want to be a little bit of a Renaissance man, right? So, but to find friends that have that same level of broadness of interest is always a fun thing. Because again, you never exhaust the conversation, really. So I'll leave it at that. I think it's been a pretty long video, but maybe some of you stuck till the end. If you're interested in the event, show me that, because I will put it together. It'll be the first event. It might be kind of raw. It might be kind of, it's going to be the first time. So who knows how that's going to look, but it could be anywhere. It could be, we could do something in the nature in freaking Italy and rent like a Airbnb, or we could be in the mountains here in the Caucasus, or we could do something in the US. If someone has a place like a big house and they could rent the venue for us, That'd be awesome. Or if you have any suggestions on how you would like the event to be, you could also tell me that in the comments or in the email, and I could put together something. And then eventually I'll build like a little list of guys that pledged to go there, maybe with a small pledged amount of money, so that I know it's serious, and then we'll just do it. So hope you guys like that idea, and if not, I mean, if anything, I mean, just hope you guys enjoy the future content and the direction that this channel is taking. Ciao.